It's almost as if they were matter and antimatter.
Freedom breeds inequality. Now, I'll say it a third time.
No, twice was enough.
I'll confess that anything complicated confuses Mr. Vidal.
They really do despise one another.
Now, listen, you
The right
here.
of the
Stop
assembly
calling me
here.
a crypto-Nazi.
Let's stop
or I'll
calling
slap
names
you in
and
your
let's get-
goddamn face, and
let's-
you'll stay plastered.
So why this movie now at this time? Was it carefully timed with the new elections, or is it purely coincidental?
Well, we knew we wanted to do it around an election. We thought we were going to do it for the 2012 election. But that's the world of documentary filmmaking. You know, you think it's going to come together quickly, and here we are 5 years later, suddenly right on time for the 2016 election season.
Why did it take so long?
Well,
Fundraising?
yeah, I mean, we came across this footage, and we found it completely transfixing, and we thought it said everything about the culture wars today and about media today and about intellectualism and all these things that seemed really relevant to us. And what we found when we took that out to the world was that people just kept saying, does anybody care about this anymore? Like,
Really?
is it relevant?
Because when I ask people are like, oh my God, I totally remember that. You would think they would want to seek that out.
Well, I think people were afraid it was going to be too much of an historical project without a contemporary relevance. So
Yes.
the most rewarding comment we get now is, gosh, I couldn't believe how contemporary and
Yeah,
relevant it is.
exactly.
This was a slow burn. It's over 10 nights, 5 at the Republican Convention in Miami and 5 at the Chicago Convention, 1968. And viewers became invested in these men doing battle over the future of the nation. That it ended with this brutal personal attack.
Yeah. It was no longer about the future of the nation. It was about who's going to sling what at who. I mean, that was the entertaining part.
But it was still about the future of the nation because each man represented a culture that the other thought was corrosive to the nation.
Evil and wrong
Exactly.
and needed to be eliminated in a
So
way.
the personal was the political, which is kind of the era we've been living in. The
Yeah.
idea that of the culture wars, which really came out of '68, and the idea that, you know, whether you're a gay man or a Vatican I Catholic like William F. Buckley were, that those issues, those personal issues, were completely intertwined with your political issues. In journalism today, the goal is to be impartial.
In theory.
In theory,
ideally.
but for the wrong reasons. You know, we weren't trying to be impartial because we were trying to be fair. We're trying to be impartial because we were trying to talk about a bigger issue, not about the arguments, but about how we argue. You know, we thought that's what the film was about because it's really easy to get caught up in those issues, and once you do that, then suddenly, you know, you lose half the audience. Half the people are saying, well, I don't agree with you. So we wanted people to more say, you know, I actually am finding myself agreeing with somebody who I thought was completely heinous, you know, that
or I find this person heinous, but I'm sympathetic to them in,
Yes.
in an emotional way.
Well, I kept bouncing around who I
Good.
liked more depending on the debate.
Yeah.
But you were
Yeah.
his copy editor, and so you did have personal interaction.
Yeah.
So how do you not let that get in the way? Or does it?
No, it didn't. I mean, I will say I was a fact checker right out of college working for Gore, so it wasn't like we had a long or deep connection.
But you can still formulate opinions. I mean,
Sure.
I can't picture him being the easiest person.
I've got to say, if you worked for Vidal, I'm not sure that you would end up, you know, wanting to present him in a sympathetic light.
No,
Yeah.
but the reality of it is I completely agree with Gore Vidal, and I'm a liberal. But I would much rather have dinner with William F. Buckley now than Gore Vidal.
It's really entertaining. I'm laughing a lot. I'm incredulous a lot.
Yeah.
But at the very end, I am overcome with such sadness. And I'm not really sure why. Where does that come from?
A couple different things. You know, I think part of it is recognizing the sadness they had in them at the end of their lives.
The bitterness, holding on to that bitterness, inability to let it go.
So I think there's kind of a personal sadness. And then there's the kind of
Cultural sadness.
Yeah, the cultural sadness, the kind of requiem for what happened to our public discourse. You know, not to put too big of a point on it, but that's really what we're lamenting at this point. You know, what happened to the grown-ups in the room who are supposed to be looking out for our best interests and speaking honestly and passionately and listening to each other?